It's March, and this is the big time for migration, right?
It is March, and spring's right around the corner. About a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I was out doing yard work because we had a large snow. It's very unusual for this part of the country. We had 10 inches of snow. Our plants in this area typically can't handle that very well. Not so much the cold, but the weight of the snow breaks a lot of limbs. So 2 weeks ago, I was out doing the yard work, which is a major chore because a lot of trees got broken, a lot of limbs are down. So I spent maybe half the day out in the yard. And while I was out there doing some work, I heard a familiar sound. It was in the distance, it was high up in the air, but it was a gaggle of sandhill cranes. I'm fortunate enough to be in a flyway, and as much of this area right here is, of the sandhill cranes as they move south and move back north. My first thought was, oh, the sandhill cranes are moving south. And I realized, oh no, they're moving back north. It's February, and they're headed back north again for their breeding territories. And it just reminds me, like, spring is almost here. And so you got to be prepared for the other birds that are here. A lot of the migrants that come back up from South and Central America, you won't notice those so much because they're not huge like sandhill cranes. They don't make a big noise that you can hear for a mile. They're small. They're mostly warblers and things that come in here. They don't hit your feeders a lot. So like I said, you just don't notice them that much, but they're coming through. Some of the seed eaters show back up. But you need to be ready for springtime. The suet that you can put out in feeders is great for the warblers. And it also reminds you that the seed eaters need it right now. Mentioned before, just when they need it the most time is now because it looks pretty outside. Every other day we get beautiful sun, it's a little warm, and you say, oh, spring's here. But there's not much food available because most of it's died. All the insects that they were eating are pretty much gone. The dried seed, weed seeds that are out there naturally are pretty much gone. And it's time for them to set up their territories and breed. And there's very little food. So they can really use the food this time of year. And a side note to that, don't be discouraged if you see few birds at your feeder this time of year, because there's 2 times a year this happens. Fall, I call the fall slowdown, when there's abundant food out there that's natural. The spring, when the birds have little food, they're hungry, but they have to separate out, claim a territory so they can raise their young and feed. So they'll push all the other birds out of the area. So you'll see very few birds coming to your feeder. They have to build a nest, tend to their young, and forage. They don't have time, nor can they come into your territory where your feeder is because the other birds will chase them out. So you'll see a little drop, but be prepared as we get on the backside of the breeding time, especially down into May, late April, May, June, you'll see a lot more birds because all the babies will be out.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time of year.